Hello, it's Elizabeth from Elizabeth's Oracle. Thank you so much for tuning in today. We are going to talk about the Sun into Scorpio for 2019. Here are the start times for each section of this video. We got a Mercury retrograde, a Mercury transit of the Sun, and the last Saturn Neptune collab until 2031 that I want to talk to you about, as well as all things Scorpio. So thanks again for tuning in, and let's jump in and look at some charts. All right, so let's look at some charts. So for the day that the Sun moves into Scorpio, here in chart number 1, top a little bit to the left there, we have the Sun, Venus, and Mercury in Scorpio. We have them opposing Uranus. Those aren't direct oppositions till we get to the new moon, but across the way we have Uranus. They're in Taurus, putting a little fixed energy in the ethers. All of your water signs are going to be in blue, your earth in green, your fire in yellow, and your air signs in the gray. So that's Mars in Libra, and in the fire, Jupiter there getting strong now in Sagittarius as it finishes up its homecoming, and of course Saturn and Pluto doing their thing. And what you'll notice too, that's going to come up. There's a lot of harmony between Scorpio and Capricorn. I'll explain that a little bit more, but pay attention there, especially to Saturn. Chart number 2 on the 27th is that new moon, one of the most powerful new moons of the year. Just in general, I say that Scorpio is about transformation. So if you set out intentions at your moons, this is one to pay attention to. And this one is particularly interesting because it is just opposite, not to the exact minute, but definitely the degree to Uranus, wild card Uranus in Taurus. So we have this tension there and this ability to bring in surprises, to bring in things in unexpected ways. That's kind of one of the prominent features of this new moon chart, but mark that so close to Samhain. So if it's a time that you do ritual or ceremony, beautiful new moon to bring that in. We also see Mercury in this chart getting ready for its retrograde. Remember, it almost finishes out its transit of Scorpio before going retrograde, but in this chart, it's just a few days ahead. That's also on Halloween. It goes retrograde, so big chart here. And we also have Venus finishing up its time in Scorpio at the very late degrees, so it's getting ready to head into Sagittarius. So let's move to chart number 3. So by the time we get to chart number 3, a lot has shifted. Venus has moved on into Sagittarius. You see it there with Jupiter. Mercury has gone retrograde, and we are already at November 8th in this chart. And the reason I want to point it out is it is right before the Mercury transit of the Sun, but it is mostly because of all this collaboration between Saturn and Neptune. Those two meet for the 3rd time this year, and this is the final sextile. Very complementary energies working together. So we have our water and our earth working to the same purpose. I'll elaborate a little bit more in part 2, but I want you to notice this time because there's a lot of harmony between Neptune and Scorpio, and then in between them Capricorn getting along with Neptune in Pisces, and Capricorn supporting the energies in Scorpio. So let's do chart number 4, which is the full moon. It is 15 degrees away from Uranus at this point. So if you want to work with any Uranian energy, you're probably going to better do that at the new moon. But again, really powerful fixed energy. If you want to pull in Taurus energies for all of that endurance, stamina, all of those Taurus qualities, this is a wonderful occasion to do that. And we are still in the middle of these nice connections here. In this one, we actually have Mars and Jupiter working together. You see a sextile forming between those two. So very positive full moon. All right, so those are the charts. I wanted to run through them quickly because I have a lot to cover in part 2. But, I always like to have you guys get your bearings. And just so you have it handy, here is where all the signs change. So by the time we finish up, Mars will move out of Libra into Scorpio. So we have more Scorpio energy continuing, but over these next 4 weeks, we've got the Sun, Venus, Mercury, all doing their thing in Scorpio for a lot of this cycle, and then Mars will pick it up after that, and right at the very end of the cycle you see Mercury going direct. So we're going to have a long Mercury retrograde, so let's talk about that in part 2. All right, so let's first talk about Scorpio itself, and then we'll go into some of the aspects that are happening. So Scorpio is our 8th sign of astrology. It is a fixed water sign. It's ruled by Pluto, and the things that we associate it with are secrets, intimacy, sexuality, other people's money, inheritance, and it's also known as a purifier. It's got a shamanic aspect, and because it's Pluto ruled, it comes in, it gets to the truth, sign of detectives, and it's there for reform or purification to remove what we no longer need. And this year, there's just going to be some nice aspects really helping us out with that. And that's why I was pointing out that new moon to kind of set up whatever you want to clear if you consciously know what it is, or if you don't consciously know what it is and you are just open and willing to say to Spirit, I let go of what I no longer need. Scorpio is your sign. That new Scorpio moon is definitely a time for that. So those are some of the qualities and aspects to think about as we look at some of these meetings. So during this cycle, Mercury is in Scorpio the whole time. In fact, it went into Scorpio October 3rd, and then it is staying there till December 9th. So it's a really long time for Mercury to stay in one sign, and it's because of that retrograde. So we'll be digging up information. That's what Mercury always does. It discovers things and it brings them up for reform and revision, all those words that we always talk about. So we're working on that, and I feel like the Pluto aspect is there to pull up whatever our deepest truth is and to work on that, clearing out what we don't need and then bringing in what we want. I'm kind of gently suggesting that those 3 weeks of the retrograde, Halloween till the 20th of November, keep your schedule a little lighter if you can, so that you give yourself time to process this. And like I said, this cycle will be followed up by Mars moving through Scorpio until the beginning of the year. So we'll have the energy to get Scorpio things done. So a little time during the retrograde to reflect, to consciously work on clearing or what we want to renew and setting out those intentions is really powerful. Also, just to give us a buffer for all the inconveniences that, Mercury retrogrades bring is, never a bad idea. So, the things that I want to talk about. So we got the retrograde, you got the dates coming out of the shadow period. We don't do that until December 7th. That's what I mean. It really takes a while. We're really going to get whatever Scorpio is here to teach us or show us at this time for quite a while, really through the end of the year, beginning of next. That transit of the sun. You can look it up. It is all about Mercury being visible. It happens 13 times a century. We won't have another one until 2032, and we can see it here in North America. So if you get a chance, and of course, obviously, watch it with the right viewing instruments and all that good stuff. But I think of it this way. The sun is our identity. Some say the ego, but it's how we identify, how we present ourselves in the world. And Mercury is, of course, what we say about ourselves, the stories we tell ourselves. And so we have this incredible visible manifestation of that, but because it's happening during the retrograde and around the full moon, and the transits on the 11th, full moon on the 12th, I would say, how are we defining ourselves? What is the story we tell ourselves? And any of the stories that aren't helpful, they've got to go, right? So this is a good cycle for really putting a little thought and reflection. That's why I'm saying if you can build in a little reflection time during this, it'll be super helpful. And then the other aspect that's going to be super helpful to us is we have our final Saturn sextile to Neptune during this cycle. And in fact, if you look to this chart here on the 8th, you see so much collaboration between the Scorpio sun and Saturn and Neptune and the Scorpio sun and Neptune with their trine. So we really have these energies all coming together under a Mercury retrograde. That's already helping us redefine things. But Neptune, working with that energy, with the structure of Saturn, this is the third and final Saturn sextile to Neptune of the year. And again, these two don't meet again till 2031, and they'll both be in outgoing signs when they do their next sextiles. That's a Neptune in Aries and Saturn in Gemini, very different energy. Right now, both of these planets are at home, so it's sort of the best of their energies. And so I think this one we really, really want to pay attention to. We have so many elements around it that are going to be supportive. So Saturn, as you guys know, gives us our structure, its skeletons, bones, and Neptune is our deepest spiritual awareness. It's where we pull things seemingly out of the ethers, but to me it's soul purpose, soul journey. It's where our most informed part that draws from other dimensions, other realms, really knows what it's doing. And what I love about this collab is Saturn says, here's how you put it into structure. Because we all know Neptune can get way too out there and Pisces can get way too nebulous and just not be able to put it into the world. And no one's more realistic than Saturn. And these two are working together. So they're really trying to help us find what it is we are really doing, our purpose, and to bring that back and put it into a tangible, constructive form. And of course, Capricorn is one of our cardinal and initiating energies, so it's helping us bring something forward into the world. Pisces, of course, releasing things, which goes along with the Scorpio purification energy. And of course, in the background, Pluto is also working away, not so far away from these connections, and it rules Scorpio. So it's also helping us clear what we don't need, but just so it's not like loss, grief, death, all those tough Scorpio things. This is a time of when we're saying, well, what do I want to build? And which of all the myriad, the infinite number of things in the world and in other realms do I bring through? Saturn's helping us put the Neptunian information into a very practical form and into a tangible form. So I just really encourage people to work with the energy around this. It's the last one of the year and the last time these two are going to be working together, that we will see, in our lives these two in these signs. So because Neptune's going to take another 165 years to get back to Pisces. So we're not going to actually be able to experience that in this life again. So really, really note this time, powerful full moon. But the whole Scorpio cycle in general, there's just such a beautiful collaboration amongst these planets. They are so much working together and so much working to support us. So those are the things I wanted to point out for you. And if you could stick with me, I just want to just share a little bit more information of how to get in touch, etc., etc. All right. Well, thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm Elizabeth from Elizabeth's Oracle. You can find me at elizabethsoracle.co. The links to everything are always in the description box. You can hit the notification bell here on YouTube, and you'll get notified when a new video posts each month. But better yet, sign up for the newsletter, because I am branching out at the new year and putting things in new media. Also, the newsletter is where you can find out about exclusive sales, things that are only for the newsletter community. Your information's always respected. And here on YouTube, there is always Free Minute Fridays. So if you get a reading, or you've been thinking about a reading, or you want to know what Scorpio is bringing in for you, just get in touch with me and have your reading on a Friday, and you will get 5 free minutes added to any order. But otherwise, and there actually is a special for the newsletter group, so hop on that list to find out about that. But really, it's a great, for anybody who's followed my work for a while. I've been writing columns for over 10 years, and I've been on YouTube for about 5 now. You know, I love Scorpio. It's the transformative quality. You may not see the results during the Scorpio cycle. They may not show up till next spring, but I'm just such a huge believer that, especially with these Neptune collaborations, that our spirit always knows where we're supposed to be and what we're supposed to be doing, and Scorpio just burns away all the superfluous nonsense, the stuff that's gotten into our ethers, our minds, our auras, that is just not supporting our purpose. And so I just, the aspects are so good this year that, please feel free to share this information with others. But I just wish you guys an amazing cycle, and we'll come back, because next month when the sun goes into Sag, because Jupiter is finishing up its transit, getting ready to make its movement into Capricorn. So lots going on. So thank you again for watching. I hope that you enjoy, and we'll see you when the sun heads into Sagittarius.